Some struggles feel like they never end. The same frustrations, the same setbacks, the same painful lessons, repeating like a cycle you just can't break. Ever felt that? Like no matter how much you try to move forward, life keeps pulling you back. To the same test? But what if that's exactly what's happening? What if life isn't just a string of random challenges, but a carefully designed exam? And what if, without realizing it, you've been retaking the same test over and over again? Think about it. How often do you find yourself in eerily familiar situations? A relationship that ends the same way as the last. A problem at work that feels like déjà vu. That same personal struggle, procrastination, insecurity, anger that you swore you'd conquered, yet here it is again, staring you down. It's as if life is holding up a mirror, waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to change. Jewish wisdom teaches that nothing is random. Every challenge you face is meant for you. It's not punishment, it's preparation. But if you don't learn, if you don't grow, the test doesn't disappear. It simply returns, sometimes. In a different form, sometimes even harder, until you finally wake up. Yet most people never see it. They complain. They blame others. They wait for circumstances to change, without realizing the real change has to happen within. So ask yourself, are you learning from your struggles, or just enduring them? Are you evolving, or are you stuck in the same patterns? Because one thing is certain, until you pass, the test will never end. Some people spend their entire lives fighting the same battles, the same heartbreaks, the same disappointments. They switch jobs, move to new cities, start new relationships. Yet somehow, the same struggles always seem to follow them. At what point do we stop calling it bad luck and start realizing it's something deeper? Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever noticed how certain problems just won't go away? No matter how much time passes, they always seem to return, sometimes disguised as something new, sometimes even more intense than before. Maybe you keep attracting the same kind of unhealthy relationships. Maybe you've spent years promising yourself that this time you'll stop procrastinating, stop doubting yourself, stop falling into the same destructive habits. Yet here you are, stuck in the same cycle. It's easy to blame external circumstances. To say, if only I had a better job, if only I had more supportive people around me, if only things were different, then I'd finally be happy. Then life would change. Maybe the real issue isn't what's happening around you, but how you're responding. But what if real change isn't something that happens to you? What if it's something that has to happen within you? Jewish wisdom teaches that life doesn't just give us tests, it repeats them again and again until we finally learn. A lesson ignored isn't a lesson skipped, it's a lesson postponed. And the longer we avoid it, the more persistent it becomes. If you don't develop patience, life will keep testing it. If you don't learn self-worth, you'll keep attracting people who make you question it. If you don't take responsibility, you'll keep feeling like life is out of control. And here's what most people don't realize. Every time you resist the lesson, the test doesn't just return, it intensifies. The same patterns show up, but with greater consequences. The struggles get harder, the stakes get higher. Not because life is punishing you, but because it's trying to wake you up. So take a moment and ask yourself, what challenges in your life keep coming back? What painful patterns refuse to go away? What lessons have you been avoiding? Because here's the truth, nothing changes until you do. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can finally move forward. This real question is, are you ready to break the cycle? Some of the greatest souls in history, leaders, visionaries, the most righteous people faced the hardest tests imaginable. Not because they were weak, but because they were destined for something greater. Jewish wisdom teaches that the more meaningful your life is meant to be, the greater the challenges you will encounter. In this tradition, life isn't about comfort, it's about refinement. Growth doesn't happen in ease. The soul is shaped by struggle. Look at Abraham, the father of monotheism. He was tested over and over, forced to leave behind everything familiar, venture into the unknown, endure famine, personal loss, and the ultimate test of faith. Moses, one of history's greatest leaders, didn't have an easy path. He battled Pharaoh, wrestled with self-doubt, and faced resistance from the very people he was trying to help. Even King David, despite his wisdom and strength, spent years fleeing from those who sought to destroy him. And it's not just biblical figures. The deepest thinkers, the most inspiring individuals throughout history, all had one thing in common. Their lives were marked by challenges. But here's where most people go wrong. They assume struggles are punishments, that hardship means something. Is wrong. But Jewish wisdom sees it differently. Tests aren't meant to break you. They're meant to reveal you. Think about a fitness journey. At first, lifting weights is painful. Your muscles ache, and it feels impossible. But over time, the struggle itself makes you stronger. Imagine a blacksmith forging a blade. The metal is heated, hammered, reshaped. If it could feel, it would resist. It would cry out, "Why am I being struck? Why am I being burned?" But from the outside, we know the truth. Without the fire, it would never become strong, and we are no different. Every difficulty, every painful moment is shaping you into something greater. But here's the key. Not everyone comes out stronger. Some people face challenges and grow. Others face the same challenges and remain unchanged. Why? Because the test itself doesn't create transformation, your response to it does. Think back to a time when you struggled. A moment when it felt like everything was falling apart. Now, looking back, did that experience weaken you? Or did it force you to grow in ways you never expected? If you had never gone through it, would you be who you are today? So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Because the sooner you stop resisting, the sooner you become who you were meant to be. Some people face difficulties and emerge stronger. Others face the same struggles, but remain stuck, trapped in frustration, repeating the same mistakes, wondering why nothing ever changes. Why does this happen? It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's how you respond to the challenge. Every difficulty in life presents two paths: resistance or transformation. Resistance is the default. It's complaining, blaming, avoiding. It's saying, "This isn't fair. Why does this keep happening to me?" It's waiting for circumstances to change instead of changing yourself. Transformation, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It demands effort. It means looking at your struggles and asking, "What is this trying to teach me? What strength is this trying to build in me?" This perspective isn't just philosophical, it's practical. Jewish wisdom teaches that challenges aren't just obstacles, they're invitations, opportunities to grow, refine your character, and become something greater. But here's the problem. Most people reject the invitation. They resist. They see struggles as something to escape from rather than something to step into, and resistance doesn't make the test disappear. It only makes it last longer. Let's shift perspectives for a second. Think about a storm. The harder you fight against it, the more exhausting it feels. But if you learn to move with it, to adjust, to shift, to embrace it instead of fearing it, you find your way through. Life's challenges work the same way. The moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How can I grow from this?" everything begins to change. But transformation isn't just about thinking differently. It's about acting differently. Look at your own life. Think of a challenge you've faced recently. How did you respond? Did you resist, hoping it would pass? Or did you face it head-on, allowing it to shape you into something stronger? Because growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. In Jewish thought, The Hebrew word for challenge, nisayon, also means elevation. A test isn't just something to endure. It's something that can lift you to a higher level, but only if you let it. So the next time life tests you, pause. Instead of reacting with frustration, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what lesson is hidden in this struggle? What part of me needs to grow? How can I use this challenge to become stronger? Because life will keep presenting you with the same tests until you choose to transform. And the sooner you stop resisting, the sooner you begin to rise. Not all of life's tests come with clear results. There's no grade, no score, no one telling you, congratulations, you passed. But that doesn't mean there aren't signs. In Jewish wisdom, life's tests aren't measured by how much you achieve, but by who you become. And if you look closely, there are clear indicators of whether you're growing or simply repeating the same lessons without realizing it. One of the biggest signs that you're stuck in the same test is frustration without progress. If the same problems keep showing up, relationships falling apart in the same way, financial struggles repeating, personal battles resurfacing, it's a sign that the lesson hasn't been learned yet. The test is still ongoing. Another sign? Blame. When things go wrong, do you immediately look for external reasons? Do you catch yourself thinking, if only this person acted differently? If only my situation were better? If only life were easier? Blame keeps you powerless. Growth only happens when you take responsibility. So what does it mean to pass the test? It's not about perfection, it's about change. If you're responding to challenges differently than before, handling setbacks with more wisdom, patience, and awareness, you're growing. If you notice that the same struggles no longer trigger you in the same way, that you're making choices you wouldn't have made in the past, that your mindset has shifted, you're moving forward. Think about a challenge you faced recently. How did you react? Was it the same way you always have, or did you handle it differently? Because the greatest sign of growth isn't that challenges disappear, it's that you no longer respond to them as the same person you once were. And here's the most important part: tests don't just come once. When you pass one level, life presents you with another. The struggles that once held you back may no longer affect you, but new challenges will emerge, ones that demand even more from you. That's how growth works. So if you ever wonder whether you're passing or failing, ask yourself, am I reacting the same way I always have? Am I avoiding responsibility, or am I facing my challenges? Am I resisting change, or am I using my struggles to become wiser, stronger, and more patient? Because life will keep testing you. The only question is whether you're ready to rise to the next level. Most people believe transformation happens in a single moment, a sudden breakthrough, a dramatic realization, one big decision that changes everything. But in reality, that's not how growth works. Jewish wisdom teaches that real transformation doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from small, consistent actions, tiny choices that, over time, reshape who you are. Think about water carving through stone. It doesn't happen instantly. It happens through slow, steady movement, day after day, year after year, until even the hardest rock is transformed. Life works the same way. If you want to break free from old patterns, if you want to stop repeating the same mistakes, if you want to finally move forward, don't wait for a massive breakthrough. Start with something small. If patience is your test, pause for a few extra seconds before reacting. If fear has been holding you back, take one small step forward, just enough to challenge your comfort zone. If you struggle with self-discipline, change one habit, just one, until it becomes part of you. Because here's the secret: small changes compound. The tiniest shift in direction, if maintained over time, leads to an entirely different destination. But most people never start. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right time. They wait to feel ready. But growth doesn't happen when you feel ready. It happens when you choose to act. Think of an airplane at takeoff. If the pilot shifts course by just a few degrees, the plane will land in an entirely different country than originally planned. One tiny adjustment, carried out over time, changes everything. Now think about your own life. Where have you been stuck? What's one area where you know you need change, but you keep telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow"? What if, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you just started? Not with something overwhelming, but with something small, something manageable, something you can do right now. Because here's another truth most people don't realize. Change doesn't feel life-altering when it's happening. It feels small, almost too small to matter. But one day, you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. That's how transformation happens. So take that step, make that choice, and trust that even if it doesn't feel like much today, it's leading you somewhere greater than you can imagine. Take a moment and look back at your life. The struggles you faced, the moments that tested you, the times you felt stuck, lost, or unsure of what to do next. Maybe you've spent years repeating the same patterns. Maybe you've resisted change, avoided the hard lessons, or convinced yourself that things will always be this way. But here's the truth. It's not too late. Jewish wisdom teaches that as long as you're alive, you have the ability to grow, to learn, to break free from old cycles. No matter how many times you've failed, no matter how many tests you've ignored, the opportunity to pass is still in front of you. Because life isn't looking for perfection, it's looking for progress. And progress begins the moment you stop running from the lesson and start embracing it. So ask yourself, what is life trying to teach me right now? What challenge have I been resisting? What's one small step I can take today to move forward? The test doesn't end just because you ignore it. It ends when you finally learn the lesson. And when you do, when you stop resisting, when you step forward, when you choose to grow, life opens. Doors you never even knew existed, because the real reward for passing the test is becoming the person you were always meant to be.